The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. All right, welcome to the Sports Bros. I'm sitting here with Trevor Gau, who is the president of the Triangle Curling Club. And he has been telling me about the absolutely stellar response he's been getting from the community about everyone getting interested in curling. So this is what you called earlier your busy season. What is happening with curling? Is everywhere I go, people are talking about it. What is happening? What's going on with your club?
Yeah, hey Cheyenne, thanks so much for having me on. This is the Olympic season, so every 4 years, every curling club in the United States gears up for the surge of interest that comes with curling. Um, it's it's exciting for us, but it's also very busy, a lot of work. So yeah, it's that season happens every 4 years, and we're in the thick of it.
You're in the thick of it. So you told me earlier you had like 2,000 people who are interested in curling, and that is a lot for this area. You might have capacity for maybe 500 of them. So how is this going to work? Like, it sounds very exciting. Sounds like a good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. Yeah, 2000 is just sort of my estimate. We don't do any marketing. We don't do a whole lot of social media. We just exist. People search for us and find us. And so what we've done is we opened up tri curling sessions, and they're 1 hour sessions. They cost $30. Basically, get people in the door to see what it's like, experience the sport of curling. We'll show them how to slide, how to throw a couple of stones, how to sweep, a little bit about the rules, and kind of the goal with this is to get as many people through and experience the sport as possible. But with our limited schedule and all the other things we have going on, there's just more demand during this time than we can accommodate. Now, the interesting thing is the demand is going to die down after the Olympics. It's not going to be on TV as much anymore. And so if people were to come back in the fall or next year, we'd have more than enough availability for them.
All right, I see. So so we're sitting here in the Triangle Curling Club home base. I love it in here. It is so welcoming. It is so fun. Everywhere you look, there's a little bit of the culture of curling. And it's a very specific to the local area. There are trophies everywhere. There's almost like a bar, and we're sitting in these beautiful, lovely couches with a lot of people who are sitting here watching the Olympics while a bunch of curling curling games,
yeah,
are going on right now around us. So it's a really wonderful place to be. What was the inspiration to build this place? And by the way, I should note, Triangle Curling Club is a nonprofit, so everything you guys do is in terms of like asking for fees and stuff, it goes right back into the club. So what was the inspiration to build this place? How long has it been here?
Yeah, it's a great question. Triangle Curling Club started in 1995 from an ad in the newspaper. So they rented hockey ice for the first 20 years of their existence. And they decided enough is enough. We want our own place. We want our own ice. We want our own space. And so they built this dedicated curling facility in Durham, North Carolina. So that's where we are right now. I started curling about 3 months after this building opened. So I was not part of that original group, all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into building this place. But I've come to call it my home. And I would, really rather not belong to any other curling club. I really love this space. So what was the inspiration? When you rent hockey ice, there's a few things. Number one, it's expensive. If anybody who's played hockey knows that hockey is expensive, and when you want to rent out the entire arena, that's pretty pricey. The other thing is you don't get really good times to curl. So they might have you coming in at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, or during the day, and that's tough for people that want to curl. So that's the second thing. The third thing is when you rent hockey ice, you have to turn it from skating ice or hockey ice into curling ice as fast as possible. And when you do that, you're not able to put as much precision and care into the ice preparation as you would like. Setting up good curling ice takes a lot of time, a lot of specialized equipment, and you just don't have that when you prepare hockey ice. So the difference between curling on hockey ice and curling at a dedicated curling facility like this is sort of like you're playing pool at a cheap bar that's got the felts all scratched up, the tables lean one way. It's not really good pool playing. But or you play on a professional billiards table, it's much nicer. So that's the analogy I like to make. So we have the professional space and surface out there.
So that opens up some thoughts I have about curling, and specifically, one of the biggest misconceptions that I had coming in was that you wear ice skates, but of course, hockey ice and is it called a sheet, curling sheet? That
Yep.
the ice of the curling game is very different. You do not wear ice skates. Are there other common misperceptions that you hear all the time about curling from
Yeah,
people?
skates actually comes up all the time. In
Yeah.
fact, we had a group last night, a college group, and they all came in saying, "Where are the skates?" And yeah, so we wear curling shoes. I can go in later about what curling shoes are and what makes them special. Other misconceptions, I'd say the biggest one is people come in after watching it on TV and they find out that it's a lot harder than it looks.
Oh.
Yeah, those people on TV, they make it look so easy. They're sliding gracefully down the ice. They're not wobbling. They're getting low. They're in a position that doesn't really look too difficult. And then they go try it and they find out, oh man, there's some talent to this sport.
Okay, so if somebody is new to curling, and you kind of it's a team sport, right? So if I'm new, do I need to go find a whole team? How does that work?
It's a great question. Yeah, it is a team sport. So what we try to do here is, in most of our leagues, you sign up as an individual, or you can specify one other person that you want to play with, and then the league coordinator will put together the teams. And what they do is they try to balance out the skill of each player on the team so that the teams are all competitive and everybody has a good time. The other benefit of that is the newer players come in and then they get to learn from more experienced players on their team. So it kind of brings up the whole skill level of of the new players as they come in. We also have a competitive night, which is more experienced players, and they put together a full team to join that league. But that's one out of like 12 leagues that we run. We also have a team which is a draft league. So we have the pool of people in the league, and then we take the skips and they all draft players. So that's another way of balancing out the skill levels of the team. So everybody has a good time and nobody's getting blown out each week.
So that makes me think about how you got started in curling, and when you told me a little bit before how that all came together. But now you're like a coach. You're traveling all over. Is it internationally to do curling? So what is the story of how you got started?
Yeah, it's not that exciting of a story, but I was, like I said, I started the summer after this building opened,
Right.
right? And I had a coworker who found that try curling or learn to curl events were going on. Personally, I didn't know anything about curling, and I was just happy to go try it, with a couple of friends on a Friday night, and came out here and had a really good time. So from there, we found out, hey, we can jump right into a league. We didn't need any additional training, and the people that took us into the league were more than willing to work with us and get us trained up. So having really enjoyed the sport, I started playing a lot, 3, 4 times a week. Started traveling for different events, and just grew from there. But yeah, now I try to give back. I do coaching. I do juniors instructing. I teach learn to curls myself. Been doing that for a while, and so yeah, it's just a great aspect of my life in general.
Tell me about when you go visit other clubs. Do you get inspiration for this club? Like, do you see things at other clubs that you want to do here?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a big thing that we all do, right? People come to our club and they see things they like, and we talk to each other, and we're all friends. I have friends in most states with curling clubs because I've been to all these places. So if I have a question about how they do something, how do they manage league capacity, right? I can reach out to them and say, hey, what do you guys do here? What do you think about this strategy? Happens a lot. There's also online communities like Discord and Reddit where people throw around ideas. So it's a very like generally social sport, and people want the sport to grow. And so these ideas are shared. There's not a lot of competition among curling clubs.
Is there anything about the actual places that you bring back? Because there's a lot of really interesting stuff on the walls in here. Are there any like fun ideas for like matches that you come back with or anything like that?
Um, so I like to. Um, I like to have our own unique personality when it
Uh-huh.
comes to the types of events we run.
Okay.
Um, a lot of clubs they do have their thing. So some clubs might run like a glow spiel, which is kind of in the dark, and they everything is light up or glow in the dark, right? Um, those are pretty fun. Or a club might run a pride spiel, or a club might do 5 and under events. Like a 5 and under event would be uh, a tournament that where you have to have 5 years or less of curling experience, right? So though every club kind of has their own thing, um, we run something called an over under, which is half of the team has to be a 5 and under. So it encourages experienced players to bring new players to the tournament.
A 5 years or less?
5 years.
5 years less of curling experience. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
I understand.
Yeah. So I like that we keep our own personality and we try to innovate in new ways. One thing we do pretty well, I think, is the technology around our club. We are constantly trying to find ways to make the experience better for our players and for our guests. So we have a lot of TVs in here with camera angles, and we do our web streaming. We put a lot of effort into that. So yeah, that's how I'd characterize that. We do take inspiration and ideas, but we still like to have our own personality.
So yeah, when you say glow spiel, pride spiel, a typical name for like a competition in curling is a bond spiel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love when I first visited here a couple months ago, you gave me a tour, and I love learning about all the little terminology and like fun little words that are used in curling. So tell me a little bit more about the term. So I know that the goal of a like where you're supposed to put this, let's see, it's called the stone, which is the thing that they move down the ice, is called a house. What are some other sort of fun taxonomy things that come up with curling that you could tell our listeners about?
Yeah. So just want to touch on that a bit. The stone is made out of granite. It's 42 pounds. The house is the target that you're aiming at.
The target. Okay.
So it's that bullseye looking thing, 120 feet away down at the other end, right? And there's two of them. So that's the house. There's a lot. If you listen to a curling game, you listen to the players talk, it's almost like they're speaking a different language. They're saying, throw an 8-5, or get it past the hog, or, bury around this guard. So these are terms that you'll learn pretty quickly as a player. If you know what each of those things mean, it makes a lot of sense. But to somebody listening for the first time, it's good to have a good commentator explaining what these things mean. And sometimes I'll listen to the broadcasts, and the color commentator will say something. They're usually an experienced curler, and they'll say something. Oh, they just got to get it in the 4. And then the play-by-play commentator will explain what the 4 means.
Oh, okay, that's helpful. And the thing that you use to actually sweep the ice is called a sweeper.
It's called a broom.
It's called a broom
or a brush.
Or a brush.
I got it wrong. The person who's doing the brushing or the sweeping is called a sweeper.
Oh, okay. So what's the position in curling that you like the most to do?
Oh, my favorite position is vice.
Vice? Can you spell that?
Yeah, VICE.
Vice. Okay.
Yeah.
What does that person do?
So there's 4 positions in curling: lead, second, vice, and skip.
Skip, right.
Yep. Vice, I like vice because they are doing a little bit of everything, a little bit of strategy, a little bit of sweeping, and of course they're doing some shot making.
Shot making.
Everybody's doing the shot making. Lead, second, vice, and skip. They all throw the stones. They all slide out with the stone and throw the stones. But only the vices and skips are really doing the strategy, and lead, second, and vice all do the sweeping, not so much on the skip.
So no matter what position you're playing, leave your blades at home. Don't need any skates.
That's right.
And when I first came here to learn about curling, I didn't know that it gave me a very strong impression that the strategy is really number one. I had no idea the strategy, and it felt a little bit like chess. Is that kind of an accurate sort of way to think about it, or is there a different way to think about it in terms of strategy?
Yeah, in fact, the game of curling has a nickname sometimes: chess on ice.
Chess on ice. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so the strategy is really important. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the most important thing. Shot making is also way up there, and I always say the best strategy in the world is useless without making the shots. So that execution is the thing that we practice most, and we'll practice the same shot 10, 20 times in a row, because when it comes time for a game, you only get to throw 16 stones in an entire 2-hour game. So if you miss one, that's a big deal. You want to be able to make those shots. Now, if both teams are more or less equal on their shot making ability, then yeah, strategy comes into play, and whoever has the better strategy is more likely to come out on top.
By the way, we're in this spacious, warm room with all the couches and everything, talking about curling, and I'm right behind me is a gigantic case full of trophies, but not just any trophies. I'm seeing all kinds of interesting looking. One is like Gumby with what's the with his horse
Pokey,
Pokey.
yeah,
I see pancakes. I mean, I see the Mad Hatter. I see Garfield. You told me earlier these are kind of inside jokes. Can you walk me through what some of these trophies are?
sure. So most of these trophies are for the various leagues we have, and every league has its own personality. So, for example, the Sunday morning league, sometimes called the Pancake League, as they play in the morning, that's their trophy. It's a stack of pancakes. And then Gumby and Pokey, well, that's our mixed, we just have a doubles league here. So that's our doubles trophy. Some other ones, we have the boat. So the boat is for Leaguey McLeague Face. That was a league that I started years ago, and it's still going strong. Yeah, we have the Lucky Strike trophy. Lucky Strike referring to the big tower downtown Durham. And
It looks like one of them is like a gold body lotion bottle.
Yes.
What's that about?
I believe that's for Thursday early. I'm not sure exactly what it's for. The Thursday early league is also called the Diva League.
Diva
So
League.
it
Ooh.
prioritizes women skipping, playing the back end roles on the teams.
And there's a beautiful crystal stone over here too.
Yes, and that's for our Hump Day League, our Wednesday late league. There's no trophy in the case for it, but we give out little camels for the winners of the Hump Day League.
Oh, the hump, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So who makes these trophies?
Most of these are just kind of designed or sourced by the league coordinator themselves, or whoever started the league. Yeah, some are made, some are bought. The pancakes are there's like this trophy store online that has all kinds of like different objects you can put on a trophy, and that's where that one came from.
Well, if you visit the warm room at the Triangle Curling Club, make sure you go look at the trophy case. It is really amazing. So tell me a little bit about how Triangle Curling has built into its ice shed, which is where the curling takes place, um, has built in accessibility for anyone to come in and play.
Certainly, yeah. So this entire facility was built with the ADA guidelines in mind, and it's ADA certified. So we have wheelchair access into the building as well as onto the ice. There's a ramp that we can get out to actually get a wheelchair onto the ice, because wheelchair curling is a Paralympic sport. So you can come in. There's basically you're in a wheelchair and you have what's called a delivery stick, and you push the stone down the ice with that stick. Wheelchair curlers can and do participate side by side with traditional curlers. And yeah, it's an Olympic sport happening every 4 years, just like Olympic curling. So yeah.
So something happened at the Olympics recently where there was Canada versus Sweden.
That's right.
And there was a lot of controversy and some accusations were being thrown around. When you're traveling around and you're playing in all kinds of different clubs, all kinds of different atmospheres, are there any weird things that happen like that to you?
It's pretty uncommon because curling is seen as a sport with a high level of etiquette, sportsmanship, and so if you read the rule book, the very first thing that is printed in the rule book is called the spirit of curling. And the spirit of curling says, hey, look, we're not trying to gain an unfair advantage. Great shots that are executed well are a delight to see. And you always cheer on like good shots, even if they're made by your opponents, and you never cheer or root for a missed shot, right? That's kind of the spirit of curling. Now, the Olympics, high stakes environment. So things are happening that we're not really used to as curlers who play mostly at these in these social settings and these clubs. But in the high stakes, like things tensions can run high, and yeah, in this case with Canada versus Sweden, certainly that's what seems to have happened.
So let's say for some reason that at the Olympics or even just here in your own curling club, there is some sort of, I don't know, rules violation that maybe somebody like says on like good sportsmanship, hey, I made a mistake, I did this rule violation. What's the penalty?
It depends on what the violation is. The expectation is if you commit a violation, you are supposed to call it out yourself. The most common thing we think of is you're a sweeper, you're sweeping a stone, and you accidentally touch the stone with your broom or with your foot. As soon as you do that, that stone comes out of play. It's called a burnt rock. It happens every now and then. It's no big deal. And you're supposed to call that foul on yourself. So that that is just kind of baked into the curler's mindset from day one. We even talk about that sometimes in a learn to curl. When people come in for the first time, we talk about the sportsmanship, and that's sort of the expectation. I've done it before, and my team's done it before. Sometimes it's the shot to win the game, and it's burnt, and that's just the way it is. Um, in curling, we typically don't have officials on the ice. We don't have umpires until you get to the very top levels, national championships, Olympics, tournaments where they're playing for a lot of money. That's a different story. But the vast majority of games are played with self-governance.
Mm-hmm. So if somebody does, let's say, burn a rock, do they just have to reset and redo the shot?
Oh, no. Sorry. Yeah, if you burn a rock, that rock is out of play and it just goes on.
It
so
just
it's like totally missing the shot.
So if it hits the your opposing team's stone, though, it wouldn't that be like how do you deal with the fact that your rock that's burned is affecting the other team? It doesn't matter. You just let it go.
Yeah. So if you determine that the rock was burned, you're supposed to remove it immediately so it doesn't affect any stones in the house. Now, if you're a little bit late calling it, then you would just reset everything to the way it was. And really, it's up to the non-offending team to do that resetting. Okay. So, yeah, you better not commit an offense because the non-offending team now they can put stuff back where they think it was, and maybe that will benefit them in a little bit. They shouldn't put it back like in a more beneficial spot. They should reasonably put those stones where they think they were, per the spirit of curling, but you don't want to take that chance.
I see. So that's kind of the stake. That's what the stakes are, is that your opponent might have a little bit of an edge. Yeah. And I know you were talking about putting some new televisions in so that each team can see an overhead view as they're playing on the ice to be able to watch what their opponent is doing from overhead. So I guess that overhead view is pretty critical.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice to have feature. Some curling clubs have this where you can see the overhead view of the house that's 120 feet away, and you can see it right there in front of you. It just sometimes it'll help the game move a little bit farther because if players want to discuss the strategy, they don't have to go down to the other end just so they can see what the house looks like. Okay. They can yell it across the 120-foot gap, but yeah, it's just like I said, we pride ourselves on the technology we put in this club, and so that's one thought we have for a new feature next year. We'll probably do it over the summer, is install these overhead view television screens.
So you're also, speaking of strategy, you're also a coach, and yes, you coach a lot of youth and college, I think you said.
I coach a couple of junior teams.
Junior teams. Yeah. So when you go into coach, let's say even people who have been curling for a while, what's your priority? What's the number one message you're trying to get across?
I'm a new coach, so I'm still trying to figure out my sort of coaching philosophy and where I'm the most effective. The things I try to get across are doing what you know how to do, not getting flustered in a game, maintaining composure, maintaining that mental fortitude. These things are really important in curling. A lot of times you'll see a team gives up a big end, and then the wheels just completely fall off, even though if they just kept doing what they know how to do, they could get those points back.
Oh, really?
So I try to keep that in mind. Tough loss game. You thought you should have won. You lose the game. How do you come back from that? What do you do in the next game to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Sounds like a really great way to like build your own to practice building character and getting used to those kind of things. And you said big end. What is a big end?
Yeah, big end. So in curling, we play 8 end games. So every end, one of the two teams scores, and you either score one, two, three, sometimes more. But a big end would just be like uh, 3 or more points scored,
Oh,
I'd
okay.
say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you don't want to give up a big end because that makes winning the game really hard because you have to then claw those points back.
Oh, okay. I think I can relate a little bit because I'm thinking about some hockey games I've seen recently. But anyway, so if I'm new to curling, I'm coming to a place, I kind of in my head, I'm like, it's going to be cold, right? It's ice.
Yeah.
So if I'm coming to curling, what should I wear? It's a simple like question like that. What do I bring with me? Shoes? What do I bring?
Yeah, typically the air is going to be between 40 and 50 degrees when you're curling. So I always say, dress in layers because if you might start out cold, but then as you get playing, you're sweeping, that kind of stuff warms you up. And a lot of times I'll be out there in a t-shirt just because I'm working so hard.
Mm.
But I always start out with, a shirt and maybe a hoodie and maybe a jacket, just in case, I stay cold out there. Also, depending on the position you play, like I said, the skip is not doing a lot of sweeping, so they're going to be colder than the front end players, the lead and the second, who are doing the most sweeping. I always recommend for new curlers, bring your knit hats, bring your gloves, bring your thick socks because everybody's a little different.
And of course, you do sell merch here. There are T-shirts here, and what else is here? I didn't notice. I didn't.
Yeah, we have a little bit of merch. We got T-shirts and hats and little trinkets and things with our logos. Sometimes like a curling slogan on them. Our bar sells beer, wine, cider. We have a few other things. We also have an online merch store, broomfitters.com/triangle, and it's got a whole bunch of extra stuff that we can't stock here, but it'll be made to order and shipped to you.
What is the website for Triangle Curling?
Trianglecurling.com.
Triangle, oh, very simple, trianglecurling.com. Okay, so and I know that you also have a tradition of doing Olympics parties. Have you had any this year yet?
Olympics parties. So we have
watch party.
Watch parties, yes. We have one coming up. I don't remember the date because I will be out of town.
Oh, that's okay.
But it's the watch party for the U.S. Men versus Norway, I believe.
Norway,
and
okay.
That'll be at the Boot Room, which is
the Boot Room, sure,
is in Durham.
In Durham, yeah. So, what in the past? What has the tradition of these parties been? What is it like? What is the point of your parties?
It's just to have a lot of people with a common, love of curling to come together and watch the game. It's a exciting game. It's the Olympics, so it's exciting for all of us because curling is on the world stage.
Sure.
It doesn't happen that often.
No.
So watching it out in public with other people, they come in, they see it, they see us excited about it, they get excited about it.
I see. Okay. And back to my what should I wear question. Shoes. It doesn't matter. What shoes should I wear?
Yeah, I would say wear comfortable shoes that are clean. Clean is very important. Like I said, we put a lot of care and effort into keeping that ice surface very, very nice. And so we don't want outside dirt to get on it. So when you come in with a clean, comfortable pair of shoes, we'll give you a gripper. The gripper will help you get a little more traction on the ice, so you won't slip as much. And then, it also helps keep the ice clean. But no heels, no open-toed shoes,
Sure.
Just like running shoes, tennis shoes, trainers. Those work really well. Skating shoes.
Skating
shoes. Like skateboard shoes.
Oh, skateboard shoes. Yeah, skating shoes. Sure. Yeah. And I know there's a thing that happens on a curling sheet, yeah, right? Called pebbling. What's the point of that?
Yeah, good question. So hockey ice, if you've ever skated before, it's completely smooth, or it's a very smooth surface. Curling ice, if you get down to it and touch it, it's more like the texture of an orange peel. So pebbling the ice turns it from being smooth into having that orange peel texture. And the whole point of that is, if you look at the bottom of a curling stone, the part of the stone that touches the ice is a ring. It's not flat on the bottom, it's concave on the bottom, so the stone is kind of like a donut. It touches how it touches the ice. And the pebble allows the stone to contact less of the ice. So there's less contact, meaning less friction between the stone and the ice, helps the stone glide farther.
Ah, okay. And then there's a special piece of equipment that does the water spraying, and then there's somebody goes around. You call him him or her the peddler,
Pebbler, yeah,
So
or
that's
just
actually
the ice maker.
the
Sometimes
ice maker.
they have a backpack of water, and there's a gravity fed hose with a little, like almost like a shower head attachment on the end, and it's got these very specific holes that allow the water to come out in these nice even droplets to cover the ice.
So it's not exactly as fun as maybe driving a Zamboni, but it's still very critical.
I think it's pretty fun.
You think it's pretty fun? Okay, we'll have to try it then. So also, I wanted to ask you about iceless curling. Have you ever done that before?
I've never done iceless curling.
Oh, okay. All right. Do you ever want to try to do that?
I mean, there's not much that's better than sliding down a sheet of ice.
Just the best.
I would be open to trying it.
Okay.
But I've never tried iceless curling.
So you're curling stones. Did I get that right? Where do those for you? Where do they come from?
Our stones came from the Elsa Craig Island off the coast of Scotland. There are two sources of the granite for curling stones. One is Elsa Craig, and one is another island off of Wales called Trevor. It's spelled with an F, but it's pronounced Trevor. Yeah. So those two islands source the granite for curling stones, and they go to two different companies that produce them. One is called Chey's of Scotland, and that's where our stones come from. And then the other producer is called Canada Curling Stone, and they're out of Ontario.
Okay, great. Awesome. So I guess one more thing, a couple more questions for you. After the Olympics, what will happen? Do you think that you'll have more people traditionally? Do you have people come in from the Olympics interest and sort of stay in the club over time? Will it completely just drop off and you'll have like the off season in the summer and you might see more people come back? What do you see happening?
Yeah, the Olympics are definitely our biggest recruiting event every 4 years. I think if you go around to all of our members and you say, hey, when did you start? You'd probably hear from half of them that they started because of the Olympics. They saw it on TV and they came out and attended one of our Try Curling events, or that's how the bug got into their brain about curling. So unfortunately for curling and the Olympics, it's sort of toward the tail end of the curling season. Typically, a curling season is fall, winter, and spring. So for us, it's September through the end of April. So we have the Olympics at the end of February. Not much time left to like get people in and start playing in a league and stuff like that. But we will start up again in September. And so those people who got interested, hopefully we like keep their contact. We keep, emailing them, and then like they'll come back in September when we have, new leagues starting for them.
Do you have a favorite team in the Olympics?
Well, I'm always rooting for Team USA, but Canada is definitely my like number two, rooting for them. I like the teams. I just like watching all the teams, really. Just like watching good curling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any favorite players?
Favorite players? I mean, Rachel Homan's been a favorite of mine for a long time. Ever since I started watching curling, I was just enthralled with Rachel Homan's play. She's right now ranked number one in the world out of Canada. I also have always liked watching Team Edin out of Sweden. The teams, they move around and change around a lot. So, next year there might be different teams in the top five. Like I said, I really like supporting USA curling. So whoever's representing us at the Worlds or the Olympics, like I'm a huge Team USA fan.
Excellent. So I guess one more kind of important question. What do you love about curling?
What don't I love about
curling? What
don't
you love about curling?
I used to bowl as a kid. I was a bowler for several years, and I really enjoyed it. There's, the precision component of bowling, which obviously is in curling as well. And when I started curling and playing it for a while, I realized that it's better than bowling in every conceivable way.
Nice.
That's what I tell people who
Mm-hmm.
are like bowlers that I want to get curling, right? So curling has a strategy component that you don't find in bowling. Curling is a team sport, which obviously not a lot of team play in bowling. Um, but so the teamwork is a huge reason I love playing curling. It's not about one person. You cannot be a good curling team with one good curler. The same goes for the strategy, right? That's something I love about any sport with like a compelling strategy is very interesting to me. Um, I also like the part about curling how it's a precision sport, but it's not like golf. It's not like something like archery where the entire movement that is required to be precise in those other sports happens very, very quickly. In curling, the movement happens over 4 seconds from the time you slide out to the time you release the stone. A lot of micro adjustments can happen in that 4 seconds to really make a very, very high precision shot. And of course, the other thing that I love about curling is the sweeping. It's a, it's one of these things that you can bring as much athleticism as you possibly like. There's no ceiling to it. You can put as much effort into sweeping as you want, and the more effort you put into it, the more results you're going to get out of it. I always say, I don't think I said it on this podcast, but the good sweeping turns a good shot into a perfect shot. And when you play at that high level, like that's the level of precision you need in order to win some of these games.
See, okay, that was a great
So
answer.
that's a few things I like about curling.
Yeah. That's
Not all of them. Like I said, curling, very social sport.
mhm.
What we do in our leagues after every single game is we get off the ice and we sit for half an hour longer sometimes, just socializing, chatting about the game, chatting about life, what's going on. Sometimes there's a sport on. Like right now, it's the Olympics, so we're coming off the ice and we're watching the Olympics. It's called broom stacking. That's we even have a term for this, like socializing part of the sport.
It's called broom
Broom
stacking.
stacking. Yeah, the idea is like you're done with the game, you stack your brooms up, and you have a beer.
Oh, I love
And our
that.
tradition here and a lot of places is the winning team buys the first round.
Oh, okay. But when you say beer though, it is kid friendly
It
still.
is
It
kid
is a
friendly.
family
Yeah. So we
atmosphere.
have we have
Yeah.
non-alcoholic
Yeah.
options. We have sodas. We have
Sure.
all of that stuff. So I say the first round, but
Broom stacking. I love
yeah.
that. I love that so much. So if I am interested in maybe, I don't know if I want to try curling yet. I want to see what it's like. You guys in this what we call the warm room, which is sort of the little I think of it as like a little lodge that sort of has these big windows that looks on over the entire ice sheet. There's how many ice sheets are out there? Four?
There's 4 sheets.
Four
Yeah.
sheets of people playing right now. You also have probably about 18 or so spectator chairs. People can watch games. If I want to just come down and maybe see what it's like, is that okay with you guys? Do I have to sign up? Can I just pop by?
Yeah, anybody's welcome to come spectate. We don't charge anything for
Okay.
that. We just, I mean, you don't have to, but we would prefer if you just email us before coming, say when you're planning on showing up, so we can give a heads up to the league coordinator, just so we know who you are when you come in.
Okay. So who do I email?
Info@trianglecurling.com
Okay.
is a great place
Very
to
simple.
start.
All right. Great. So what I like to do every time I try to, talk to people about their passions like this and the important things that you obviously spend a lot of time is what did I miss? What else do you want to talk about? Is there anything else that you want to say about anything about with the club, with curling, your plans for the future? What's going on?
Yeah, plans for the future. So, like I said, we are uh, in a really good spot right now with our membership and just the amount of interest in curling right now. Curling has never been more popular in the United States, so that's really good for us. I would love more curling to be available in at least in this area, right? Because we are getting to the point where leagues are full. Like we're trying to figure out where do we at what times do we like add a new league so we can accommodate more people. I would love to buy the land next door and add more curling sheets, right? So that's that's kind of top of my mind. Obviously, as a nonprofit, like we have limited budget, and we have to decide how it's best spent. But these are the sorts of things I'm thinking about as president. I'm also I want to point out that, yes, we are a nonprofit. We also have no paid staff here, so everybody's a volunteer. We have a service that mows our lawn and a service that comes in once a week and cleans. But other than that, our people who run the bar, people who prep the ice, people who manage events and coordinate things, all of those are volunteers, and they put in a lot of work. So one of the things I like to do as a volunteer myself is help streamline all the processes to reduce the load on volunteers, to make things automated, more efficient, more effective, because those kind of things have compounding returns, and you can do more with less effort.
How many volunteers do you think you have?
That's a really good question. Probably, if we talk about like how many of our 400 members volunteer at least once in a year, I'd say half of them. And then you ask like, well, how many volunteer 10 hours a year? How many volunteer 50 hours a year? And then it will trail off. We probably have 30 or 40 people that volunteer 50 hours a week. It's like I said, a lot of work. We have about 12 committees that do everything from ice to marketing to finance to health and safety, and so each of these committees is built up of several members, and depending on the committee, there's sometimes more or sometimes less volunteer effort required, but there's a lot of pieces to running this operation, and yeah, it takes a village to keep it going.
Okay, well, I really love being here. It's a very cozy atmosphere. I am very excited to see where the club goes in the next year or so. And if you want to come down and stack some brooms and hang out and have a beer, this is the place. This is with the Olympics being such a big topic right now. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are interested, but this club is nowhere to go but up. This is amazing.
Yeah,
That
that's
thing
right.
you've built here. This is great. So yeah, so Trevor Gau, president of the Triangle Curling Club. We'll see what the future holds. This has
Yeah.
been awesome to learn about curling with you today. Thank you.
Great questions. Thanks so much for having me on. Really appreciate it, and can't wait to listen when the podcast comes out.
Excellent. Okay, love it. All right. Well, thanks, Trevor.